All right, we're back in Arborist with a follow-up video. We did all of our biomes, created a tree biome, we imported a tree biome, we imported some grass biomes, and then copy and pasted those items into a fresh biome. I talked a little bit there. We played a little bit with colors on that one, but this video is going to get a little more detailed into adjusting tree colors, adjusting the billboard colors of trees and trying to make those match up where you don't get a jump when you're going from LODs to billboards and some of the different shaders with grasses. And I broke this up into two different sections, so it's going to kind of you'll see a different screen when we're doing the trees, and then a different one when we're doing the grass. But I wanted to piece it all up into one continuous video. So this was just an intro to that, and we'll start with the trees. Hopefully a quick video, but most of mine end up going long. This is on getting colors and billboarding on trees. And these are some of the harder trees to do, and we're doing this real time, so it may take me a minute. But this is the oak. I believe it's the big oak, one of the medium firs, and one of the pine trees. So first thing is going to be lighting, and a lot of your lighting you do in Unity, but you can play with the sun right here. And this would be your time of day, and you can see how much it changes the color on these trees, just the time of day itself. And you can also see when we get right at 12:30, it's kind of a consistent. And when you get over into the 10 range, this tree is going to have a different look depending on the angle. So if you look from this side, it's going to look lighter. And when you come around this way, it's going to look darker. And this is what a lot of people seem to struggle with, is the understanding of that. So when you're doing your colors, I try to keep my sun angle around that 12, 12:30, somewhere in there, because it makes it a little more consistent, a little bit easier to do. All right, so we're going to do these. And I did rows so that we can work with billboards in a minute. And I did them like this instead of a biome because they're easier to see. So if we go edit biome, all of these are in the quick plant biome to make it easy also. So let's go. We'll start with the pine. All right, so let's go to the pine. And let's go to the shader. So with the pines, what I've seen is if you just try to change the color here, it makes it a little bit harder to do. But if you'll take this texture saturation on these pines, and this works with a lot of trees, and really reduce it down to where it's almost next to nothing, then you can really get your color like you want it. And I tend to like it right in there, and get our bark like we want it. Most pines have that kind of darker gray look, but you can see that versus that, it's going to be more brown. But if we take that out, this also tends to get rid of the shininess that some of these have. If you turn that texture up, it gets a little bit more of a shine. This kind of takes that shine away. That lighting also will affect that shine. We can go there. Then when we get here, we're going to have to adjust this. So let's get in that maybe greenish brown area. And you'll have to adjust both of them. Right in there. Let's say we wanted a little bit more brown in there. And that's pretty good. Want a little darker? Go a little darker. A little lighter? A little lighter. But we got that one pretty good. I don't like that. Let's get that one a little bit lighter there. All right, there we go. We got a pretty good pine. The texture saturation is a really big one on a lot of these trees. I always try to start out not messing with it, so we'll play with this one first. Let's look at it just, if you just adjust the darkness, it's going to kind of be the stock color, and you can adjust the brightness of them kind of with this. So let's take that down a little. Take that down a little, over, up. A little bit darker. And see, I don't like the way that's doing. So what I'll do is I'll go back to here, take this down, then go back to my bark, get my bark where I want it. Then I can come in here and I can make these where I want them. So let's get a little green. You won't really see one until you adjust both. So don't try to get one exactly right until you get the other one a little bit in there. So now you can see we're getting that darker green that fir normally would have. Pretty good for what we're doing. I mean, you can see kind of how I'm tweaking stuff. Then we're going to go over to our oak. Let's go see what just the standard does with it. It's usually pretty good. Maybe right in there. And let's see what the leaf does. This is the one that I really struggle with this one because it's only one slider, and the tree itself has a little bit different colors with it, but yeah, that's actually looking not bad. Let's bring a little brown in, just a little. Okay, so we got them pretty good, so there we go. Now billboards, this is what I typically do. Go up a little. We're going to go to our billboard setting. We're on the oak and start going away. And you'll see in the distance, it'll start to billboard. That's just the LOD change in there, which those should remain pretty constant. When we get far enough away, maybe. Man, these things are way out there. There we go. So now we're starting to get the billboards, okay? With billboards, you can do a couple of things with billboards. The alpha cutoff takes some of the density of it away. If you go this way, you can see that black outline starting. Go this way, it starts to feather it out just a little bit. And I like to do that because it helps with the color. I'm going to do the color very similar. You can actually copy and paste it if you want to, but I'll get them pretty similar color-wise. Right in there, and then the brightness. We're going to play with the brightness a little. Take the saturation down a little. There. Let's go back to color. The oaks are really hard to billboard. Right there. Let's try to take a little brightness out. I like them to be a little bit darker. So that's pretty close right there. All right, let's go. What was the other one? The fir. All right, let's look at the fir. And first thing I try first is just the darkness. Just that. All right, so that's pretty close, but you see it's got this little black outline. So we can take that alpha cutoff and get rid of that little black outline. And there we go. We got that one perfect. The pines, to me, are one of the hardest on the billboards. They just don't want to do right. So I definitely play with the alpha cutoff on those. I want to take that down. where it's right in there. Pretty heavy on those. Let's go brightness. About right there. So that's pretty close. So a lot of them you can just play with the alpha cutoff and the brightness and get them pretty close. So if we go out, they all billboard out. That oak, still don't love that oak. Let's try that one a little bit more. Oh, went too far. There we go, oak. Let's see. Maybe if we take the saturation down a little bit more. In there, let's take the alpha cutoff up a little bit more. Right there. It's a little. Yeah, I think that's probably about as close as we're going to get on that oak. It just does not billboard really good. But the other ones you can see, I mean, they are dead on. Come out. Billboard all the way out. Come back in. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. All right. So we looked at tree colors with shaders and creating billboards for the trees, a couple little tricks on how to do all of that. So let's look at grass shaders, and you will have two main types of grass shaders. So we've got a grass biome set up here. Let's get into it. Getting into edit biomes. The S stands for shader settings. And you can see we've got a whole lot of stuff over here. So one of the shader settings is going to look like this. The other main one, I believe I've got one. Yeah, right here. The other main one looks similar to this. Okay, so a couple of different things we can do. Let's go back to this item here. Let's isolate it. So there's a lot of things you can play with. The texture saturation is one that I play with a lot. So this grass was originally brown and I wanted it green. So to do that, I get rid of the original color, take it all the way down saturation. And then you can come in here and you can adjust your hue over here, your color hue, and the amount here. So we make it greener, darker, lighter, however we want. If we wanted to make it purple, we could make it purple. Once you get rid of this texture saturation, you are in full control of the colors. Like I like a little, sometimes I like a little red. So you can dial back the amount, obviously. Got a little bit of a purplish red there that you can mix in. You can play with that a lot. Let's look at tint area scale. I don't mess with that a lot, but you can see how it changes kind of the different areas. I haven't really found a use for this. I usually don't mess with that one. I leave that one alone. The random darkening, though, is one. So let's say, I believe, yeah, the lower the number, the darker it'll get. So you can play with that, and it kind of changes, gives a little variation. I don't like a lot because it tends to get really dark at the base, but you can play with it in this little range right in here. Root ambient is another one that will kind of control the root color. It gets a little bit darker. It adds a little bit of variation. You can play with that a little bit. The alpha cutoff, most of the time you're going to leave that alone around the 0.5. What it does is it kind of feathers out the amount. So if we go, you can see it turns it back into, almost cardboard, how thick that grass looks. And you can thin it out, thin it out, thin it out, thin it out, almost to where it disappears. So this kind of will adjust your thickness of the grass itself, not how much of the grass, but the thickness of the grass. But most of the time you're going to leave it on that 0.5 because that's kind of where they set it and where it looks the best. On the other shader, it's a little bit easier because there's not much to it. This one, let's isolate it. It's this grass out here. Same thing. You still got the texture saturation that you can control. So that's the original texture there. I took it back to about half where it kind of got rid of the differences. If you leave it there when you start adjusting this, it's got a little bit different color to it. And I mean, you want that in some spots you don't. This particular one I didn't. So I just drew it back a little bit. You can take it all the way back, or, that's just a scale. It's just a slider you can play with. Brightness, if you got the grass where you kind of want it, but you want it a little bit brighter, you can brighten it up, darken it back down. And then you can change your healthy and dry color. You can have one, let's say we wanted one to be a little more green. There. And then we come into here and it'll darken up some of it. So if I back out a little, you can see that. So some of the grass, the drier grass gets the dry grass color. The healthier grass gets the healthy. So you can take that one grass and make it look like there's two in this biome. And then you can randomize your positioning. Let's see. No, that's it. Seed. So you can change the seed around where they kind of mix in a little bit. What this does is just throws an additional randomization to what you've already set in the position. And it doesn't do a lot. I mean, it just changes it just a little bit. But that's it on the grasses. That's kind of simple, but you can do a lot. You can get a lot of variations. I think I said in the other one about duplicating. So you could take that one grass and duplicate it, have one color, one another. You could have the multiple colors like this, and you could end up with one grass with 4 different colors on that one grass. So hope you enjoy that. We'll move on.